Minister. Next speaker is the Honorable Anil Nandlall.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, when I listened to the Honorable Minister, I was a bit confused. I was not sure that the Honorable Minister was speaking in relation to or on the same bill. Because the bill that is before the House, the Financial Administration and Audit Amendment Bill of 2016, Bill number 4 of 2016, has a very narrow compass. It seeks to exempt from the payment of want of entry charges, stamp duty, and environmental tax. So stamp duty, environmental tax, and want of entry charges are exempt in relation to diplomatic, consular agencies, I presume, but that's not mentioned here, international, charitable, and non-profitable organizations, semi-autonomous agencies, government departments, and public corporations. That's all that this bill does. So the minister, when he speaks about having a regime, a uniform regime of concessions for investors, I don't know what he's speaking about, because this bill has nothing to do with that. Maybe it's a different bill or the minister mixed up his notes, because as I said, this bill has a narrow application and it applies only to the organizations to which I have mentioned, and in relation to only three matters: want of entry charges, stamp duty, and environmental tax. So Mr. Minister, perhaps in your response, you will clarify for us the relevance of your earlier statements. But more fundamentally, sir, the Financial Administration and Audit Act, that is the principal act which this bill seeks to amend, is an act, sir, that was repealed by the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act 2003. And if one is to read or peruse the contents of the laws of Guyana, there is no principal act. There is no act that is called the Financial Administration and Audit Act. If, sir, for example, one looks at the page 2 of the bill, the short title says Chapter 7301. That 7301 ought to refer to the principal act which this bill seeks to amend. But Chapter 7301 in the laws of Guyana is the Audit Act. And I'm told by the Honorable Member Gail Teixeira, on the website too, it bears the same citation. So there is some problem. And rather than listen to me, sir, Mr. Greenidge is disturbing me, as he normally does. The Honorable Member is behaving dishonorably. So, sir, yes, sir.
I'm sure we wouldn't want to spoil the afternoon so far, Honorable Member.
Me?
Honorable Member,
sir.
Honorable Member,
The Honorable Member.
I would think that even your address to the chair has to be improved. I'm sure you will in due course.
The comments are bouncing off on me, sir, and pitching on the other side. Ricochet, former Minister of Home Affairs, dealing with a lot of firearms and so on, using the term ricochet. I'm guided by him, sir. So, sir, there seems to be a difficulty in that the Financial Administration Audit Act, firstly, is not part of the laws of Guyana because it is not in any of these books when you go through the content. Secondly, 7301, which is the short title, which purports to be the short title of the principal act as per the bill, is the Audit Act in the laws of Guyana. So And my recollection is the Principal Act, Financial Administration and Audit Act, has been repealed several years now. So you cannot, in 2 or 3, over 12 years now. So you cannot repeal a law that is not in force. When a law is repealed, it is repealed. If, for example, as I suspect, the argument will be raised that it is saved in some other law, well then it becomes part of that other law. And therefore the principal act in which it is now situated must be the act that we ought to amend. And therefore we have a conundrum of a technical nature, and I see the Chief Parliamentary Counsel struggling there to pass Mr. Patterson, the Honourable Member. Hopefully he has assisted the Honourable Finance Minister, and the corrections, sir, would be forthcoming, because we don't want, sir, to pass a bill that will be afflicted with technical difficulties. In this sense, it may be a nullity. And sir, so that's my first argument, or my first set of observations. And then secondly, sir, I made reference to the fact that the minister may have commenced his presentation by referring to another bill, because he spoke about a wide range of matters which are not catered for and are not part of this bill. And sir, the non-profit organizations and charitable organizations that are expressly targeted here, perhaps the minister may consider defining what qualifies as a charitable organization and what qualifies as a non-profit organizations. Because the minister obviously is one who is bent on revenue collection, and we don't want his efforts to be defeated by organizations being established as a sham or a mere veneer, calling themselves charitable organizations and non-profit organizations, where in fact they are not, and therefore are allowed to benefit from the range of, and I would call this concessions, they are exemptions. The minister used the term concessions. Benefit from the exemptions which I believe the minister genuinely wants to be enjoyed by authentic non-profit organizations and charitable organizations. Yeah. And sir, there is reference here to an environmental tax act. My recollection is that the environmental tax, not environmental tax act. My recollection is, of course I'm subject to correction, is that the environmental tax was abolished. It was removed in the last Parliament of Guyana, while I recognize, or rather I recall, that the Honourable Minister in his budget presentation spoke futuristically in relation to the imposition of a new environmental tax. I don't think, sir, that it is prudent to exempt persons from a tax that does not exist, because that is essentially what this bill seeks to do, to grant an exemption in respect of a tax that has not yet been imposed by law. So you have a principal act that does not seem to exist in law, You have a bill that seeks to amend that principal act, which does not seem to exist in law, and it exempts a tax, which does not seem to exist in law. So, sir, this bill has some difficulties, and once they are ironed out, sir, and the authentic and genuine beneficiaries of this exemption are clearly targeted, identified, and properly defined, we on this side, sir, will have no difficulty in supporting it. But we are in dire need of some kind of clarifications and response in relation to the matters which I have raised. Thank you very much, sir.